morning. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here to represent manufacturing for our region. I'm going to take 15 minutes. I have 15 minutes to talk with you about something that I'm passionate about, and that's not a lot of time. So I'm going to try to move through this quickly. What you see on the slide here is a rather outdated aerial view of our plant site. It is on I-5. It's about a mile from the Highway 34 interchange. And it's a rather interesting location. You can see we're surrounded by grass fields. So in the summer, we farm around our plant site, and in the winter, we have sheep as neighbors. So you're looking at 15 acres. So this is about a year old, this picture. And today, we've doubled that with the help of Lynn County to 30 acres, and we've started our expansion. One thing about Selmet that I think is important to note is that our vision is to become the community leader in building products, relationships, and jobs that last. And we're passionate about that. And it shows in our workforce development. It shows in our relationships with our community colleges and how we try to build in our community to bring jobs to this area. One important fact that not too many people know is titanium castings for aerospace are only supplied by 4 companies domestically. 3 of those companies are in Oregon. So of all the titanium that is produced for aerospace, 90% of it takes place in Oregon. And 2 of those companies are in Albany. So it's very centralized. And I think that's a neat fact for us to know that in our region, we have high percentage of the titanium casting, precision aerospace casting. So a little company info about Selmet. We've been privately held since 1983. In 2011, we were purchased by Blue Point Capital Partners, so we're still privately held, which is nice in our area for what we're doing. We currently have 430 employees. So you saw on the graphic just a little bit ago from Mayor Traber that we don't quite make the top 10. I think it was 613. So we're working towards that. I'm hoping to make that list in the next couple of years. Currently, we have 130,000 square feet under roof for manufacturing. But if you drive by today, you'll see a very large structure going on. So we're adding 60,000 square feet to our aerospace finishing process. And then I will show you a graphic of our expansion plans going forward. It's an exciting time in the aerospace industry, and I will talk about that shortly. Selmet has a very strong customer base, and the growth programs that we're involved in are exciting. And we are obviously NADCAP approved. We have a lot of quality approvals for ISO and the AS9100. An exciting thing for us is United Technologies is a large customer of ours. That includes Pratt & Whitney, formerly Goodrich, and we are a gold supplier for them. And that is something that we're very proud of. It requires on-time delivery, high quality rating, and also a proven culture of continuous improvement. During this growth phase, we found it necessary to acquire other companies to help us support what we were going to try to do. We did acquire Automac Industries, which is located just north of Seattle in Everett, Washington. So we have an additional 115 employees in Washington. And then a smaller metrology company in Wilsonville. So they will also help support our growth in the future. A little bit about our commercial aerospace industry right now. When I say commercial, I'm talking about the Boeings and the Airbus. So the commercial aircraft that we all get on and we use for our vacations and to travel. We do have a large amount of product that we do for military contracts. But right now the growth is really in the commercial. And there are 32,000 new aircraft that are being asked to be built right now and for the next 20 years. And Selmet is contracted on all of those programs. 70% of the demand is going to be in the 737 and the A320. Those are single aisle aircraft, and that's used obviously domestically. The new engine programs that are coming on right now, they're very exciting. They're built to use less fuel and to be quieter. So there's a huge impact to the commercial aerospace industry because of these new developments on the engine program. For us, being in the titanium market, you're going to see these new engine programs, what does it say, 5 times the amount of titanium used on those engines. If you look at it from the revenue side, it's like 9 times. So exciting! It's very exciting for those of us that are in this market. And like I mentioned, Selmet is tooled significantly on the majority of those castings for those new engines. Here's a quick graphic of our customer base. You can see Boeing, UTC I spoke on, Raytheon and Honeywell, Pratt & Whitney on the East Coast, but we're also very strong in Europe. Safran Group is aligned with GE on the LEAP engine, so we do a lot of work with the Safran Group, Rolls-Royce, and MTU in Germany. Just to give you an example of what a titanium casting looks like, what you see there is an intermediate case for GKN in Sweden, and they're aligned with Pratt & Whitney on the geared turbofan engine, and that casting there is 3 feet in diameter, approximately, and 200 pounds. So Selmet historically has been in the niche of small titanium castings, and you can see that we're growing into a larger niche. So we're expanding our capacity, our envelope size of product, and that's really helped us move forward. Another interesting product that we make are torque tubes. Really, you would want to look at that as a giant brake drum. So if you had a 68 Camaro, you probably wouldn't have one that big, but that's what stops your aircraft, and that is important for those of you that have flown. We produce close to 200 of those a month, and that's just the large sizes. The military also uses cute little torque tubes about this size. We do another couple hundred of those a month. So that's what they look like when they leave our plant. They obviously get machined. We do some final machining on product, but for the most part, right now, we ship out targeted castings, and that's what they look like. Just a quick look at what's happening at Selmet to show from a revenue standpoint what's happening. In 2015 to 2020, we're going to double in size. Hopefully not in size, in revenue. We obviously, with our continuous improvement culture, we hope to not double in size, but definitely need to expand our capacities. This schematic shows our plans for the future. You can see the plant site at the top. That's our current plant site. In blue, shaded, is what's happening this year. The 60,000 square feet building that I mentioned. And if you remember the aerial photo that I showed you earlier, now we've squared off our property by adding another 15 acres. And I really need to express the support from Lynn County. Whenever you have exclusive farm use that surrounds your property and you want to go heavy industrial, you can imagine how difficult that might be. But with the help of Lynn County and the commissioners, we were able to rezone 15 acres to heavy industrial. And that was so very important for our company. The commissioners also elected to assist Selmet with their economic development fund. Obviously, when you grow that much and your employee base builds, you have traffic issues, potentially. You have to put in turn lanes. There's a lot of expense that goes along with that when you reach a certain size. So thanks again to Lynn County for their support. And the build out in next year, you'll see several more buildings that are attached to our current facility that will be added, 15,000 square feet to our front end processes, and another approximately 40,000 square feet in warehousing and casting. Exciting times. Now, whenever you grow a business, especially when you double it, the size of Selmet, it's always a stress to figure out the facility side of it. The But the biggest risk, in my mind, is the workforce. That's the most important thing, and it's also the most stressful. We have been very successful in the last year and a half in building that workforce. Last year, we were able to bring on 50 new employees. So going from a 250 employee, direct employee company, adding 50 people is a lot. Bringing them on, making sure they're safe, making sure that they're getting the training they need to be productive and happy can be a challenge. This year, to date, 52. And that wouldn't be possible without the help of our Workforce Development Council in Albany and the help that we get from Lynn Benton Community College and their training programs. Those relationships that we have in our community to help us get here is paramount. When you think about it, and I showed you the picture of the state of Oregon, we have another titanium foundry in Albany. And the last thing that we want to do through our growth phase is compete for trained employees. So whenever you trade employees back and forth, nobody wins. So workforce development has to be our number one priority. So a few initiatives that you'll see on here, on this slide. I've mentioned most of them. We're working hard at that. Probably my number one initiative. And I'm excited about where we're going. I'm excited about the young people that are coming on and want to learn a trade and want to be involved with a growing industry. And so it's a very exciting time. Finally, I just want to add some dollars here as far as what currently we're seeing as a contribution to our community and our region. And this is just from a Selmet standpoint. Our capital expenditure plan through 2020 is actually closer to $40 million today. So we will be investing $40 million in capital expenditures to build out our plant and make it safe and productive. Selmet's local area spend, just taking the spend in our county in the last 12 months is $5.25 million. And then the payroll for our employees. Majority of our employees do come from Albany, 30% from Lebanon, and then spread out from there, $22 million in the last 12 months. So it's exciting to be here to share some of this information with you about what's happening with aerospace, with Selmet, and in this community. It's not just Selmet. There's a lot of metals manufacturing and a lot going on around here. And this is an exciting time. And I appreciate your guys' support and having me here today. Thank you.
If there's any quick questions for Dustin, I think we have a little bit of time he can answer them, but he's also going to be staying through the luncheon and through the rest of the summit to be able to answer more questions. But I see there's one there in the back of the room. So
Hi, Dustin. Thank you. That was extremely interesting. What is it about Albany that makes it such a great place to do this manufacturing?
That is an excellent question, and the answer is about 30 minutes long.
I can go on a long time.
And I'm sure Sharon can do that as well. The base is going back to the Bureau of Mines. And when the government opened the Bureau of Mines in Albany and they started doing the research on rare metals, the spin-off from that would be your Wachangs, ATIs, your REM metals, which then became Selmet, and it kind of all went from there. You're welcome. Yes, ma'am. That's a great question. Okay, so Selmet has developed their own ingot manufacturing process. So we're able to bring in scrap titanium. So in the waste from other people's product, we'll bring in that scrap, whether it's from hog out machining or whatever the case may be, and we will remelt that titanium and make our own ingot. To answer your question, we get a lot of that raw material from China, from Russia, or from our domestic scrap dealers, and we bring that in, we remelt it, make it into about 200-pound ingots, which we weld together into an electrode. And so every melt that we do at Selmet is tested for chemistry and alloy type And so we have a unique process there as well. We have very... yes, absolutely. She asked what percentage of the metal is reverted or recycled versus buying virgin material from China or Russia. So really, it's almost 100% that we recycle. The only titanium that leaves our building is in product. So every quarter we probably have 20,000 pounds of what we would call sweep, which is material that we can't revert. So when we're using 50,000 pounds a month, and I could do the percentages, but it's a very small percentage that we can't revert, that we actually sell to someone to clean and then we can bring it back and use again. So very little waste. Thank you.